Hello and welcome. I'm John Garlick, and I'm here with Chief Deputy Lindy Meter, and this is Calhoun County's Most Wanted. So, Lindy, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Well, thank you. I'm doing well. I'm doing well. You guys had a busy week. Let's take a look at the count. What did we do for the count? There it is.
Let's see. For this week's count, we had 4,761 arrested. So that makes us a 3 more added. So that's great for the week.
That's awesome for the week. Every week there's always somebody arrested, and that's a fantastic number. Talking about another fantastic number, we had Drug Take Back Day last Saturday.
We did. It was Saturday.
So how did you do?
Well, we work with ASAP, which is, so there was 4 different locations set up for the county. We had deputies assigned to the CVS down here in Oxford, and so as far as I know, on our total numbers that we turned in for DEA was 105 total pounds that was turned in for Saturday. But then also too for the other 3 locations, I don't have the exact number, but I'm assuming that each one done about the same amount. So we're looking at well over 500 pounds. Wow!
So over 500 pounds of prescription meds off the street.
Right, and this is an expired or unused medication. That way. One, you get to clean out your cabinets and stuff at your house, but also too, if you got children or any other persons in the house, you don't have to worry about, somebody taking the wrong medication.
Right, we get them out of the medicine cabinets, keep them from being flushed down the toilet into the groundwater system, and don't want to unduly entice risk-taking teenagers into experimenting.
Exactly, unfortunately that is a bad part of it, where you have teenagers or other people that may be on some type of substance abuse, and that is available to them, so that helps get rid of that and that availability out of your home.
And it's not just on Drug Take Back Day that they can do that.
Right. We have a permanent drop-off box in our lobby at the Sheriff's Office, and I know there's, I believe, Oxford Police Department and a couple other agencies have permanent drop-off boxes at their agencies as well that can be done at any time, through business hours.
Yeah. So no questions asked. If you have prescription drugs that are expired, or you need to get rid of some that are just laying around the house, bring it down to Sheriff's Office, or is it Oxford PD?
Right, I know Oxford PD does, the Sheriff's Office does, and I'm not sure about Anniston, but you can check with their agency, but they're just in the lobby. There's no questions asked. You come in. The only thing we ask as far as not to do drop off is any type of needles. Anything sharp that may be dangerous.
No sharps, but drop off your meds, no questions asked. Nobody's going to check your ID. Just drop them off and get them off the street. And we're going to take a look here, take a little break, and take a look at the first half of the lineup, and we'll be back with some really interesting guests. So stay with us here on Calhoun County's Most Wanted.
Hi, I'm Nancy Hilton with the Calhoun County Sheriff's Office. The long-awaited COVID vaccine is now available. Eventually, all citizens who want the vaccine will be able to get one. At this time, there are scammers taking advantage of this dire situation. There are ways you can recognize a scammer who may contact you. Here's what you can be sure of. You cannot pay to put your name on a list to get the vaccine. That is a scam. You cannot pay to get early access to the vaccine. That is a scam. Nobody who is legitimate will call about the vaccine and ask for your Social Security, bank account, or credit card number. That is a scam. Ignore sales ads for the COVID-19 vaccine. You cannot buy it anywhere. It is only available at federal and state-approved locations. Ignore any vaccine offers that say otherwise. Watch for unexpected or unusual texts. Don't open emails, attachments, or links from people you don't know. Don't share your personal, financial, or health information with people you don't know. If you have further questions, contact your local county health department. You can also read updates on the Calhoun County EMA Facebook page or the website www.calhounema.org. Was that all right?
Welcome back to this week's lineup. First up, we have John Bennett of Selma, Alabama, distribution of controlled substance. Next, we have John Selfie of Jacksonville, Alabama, probation violation, possession of controlled substance, distribution of controlled substance. Eric Enriquez of Anniston, Alabama, failure to appear, domestic violence, third assault. Faith Keeper of Oxford, Alabama, failure to appear, illegal possession of prescription drugs. Ramon Soria of Eastaboga, Alabama, unauthorized use of vehicle. Anthony Tipton of Oxford, Alabama, failure to appear, possession of marijuana in the second. If you have any information about these cases, please call the Sheriff's Office at 256-236-6600.
Welcome back. We hope you saw somebody in the lineup that you might know, and if you did, give Chief Meter a call. She'll pick them up, send a nice little taxi out there to take them to the Hotel Calhoun County. Well, we're here with some really interesting guests. We have Grady Locker and Teresa Simmons-Ross, both with the Helping Families Initiatives. So welcome. Thank you for being here
Thank you for
today.
having us.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about what Helping Families is all about? Either one of you.
Well, the idea of Helping Families is it's a partnership between the District Attorney's Office and United Way and the Calhoun County School System. And our goal is to help juveniles and their families really avoid the legal system, particularly in truancy issues, but also other possible criminal activity. Try to intervene with them before it becomes criminal activity.
So you're the case officer, case manager?
I'm a case officer, and my role is to contact families before they can be a truancy issue, to kind of look at their attendance records, see how they're doing. If I notice that they're on track towards what's called early warning court, which is 5 unexcused absences, is to call, visit, intervene in some way, and try to help them out. Typically you find that kids with a lot of truancy issues or a lot of unexcused absences often have other things going on in their family. There's oftentimes a need for a resource, maybe a family resource or a personal resource, that if they have that access, then those absences tend to disappear if they know they're getting the help they need. And that's my role, is to find that help or guide them towards that help.
Excellent. So what age groups? Is it all ages?
All ages.
All ages?
Yeah.
In public schools?
Public schools.
So, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
So
go
how have you handled it like during this past school year with COVID, and so you got some kids virtual, some not virtual? Sometimes you're a combination of the two, so how do you handle that?
Yeah, it's been very challenging. The county has a virtual school policy though, and students who fall 3 days behind in their work are actually given an absence from school.
Oh, okay.
So that's was one of my, especially early the school year. It's kind of, to be honest, it's gotten a lot easier the second semester as more kids have returned to traditional school, but it has really been reaching out to a lot of virtual students who aren't doing their work.
Right.
And then finding out sometimes there's a lot of needs there. They're just not as easy to identify because the school's not seeing them.
Right.
So you're notified by the school then?
Well, I'm not technically notified by the school, although I do work with them. I get downloads of attendance and disciplinary data from the school system, but I do speak each week with the principals and attendance officers in each school in the county system, especially because of COVID, to make sure I wasn't calling someone who may be on quarantine and the school hasn't identified it yet or hasn't marked it as such. But that's kind of how I get my data. But a lot of the probably the number one need we're finding is mental health needs. And that's where Teresa's come in very, very handy in this program.
So you identify the kids that you then refer to Teresa, who's a crisis intervention specialist. So what do you do with the handoff then?
So with the handoff, a lot of times it's Grady calling, but the majority of the time it is the counselors and the principals at the Calhoun County School Systems that are calling and saying that a child may be at school reporting, maybe cutting, or just a sense of hopelessness. And so that's when I step in and I'll go in and do an intake and assessment. And at that point, I will refer them out for services, some case management. That's another part of the wraparound, that sometimes there's the barriers that Grady was talking about, the reasons they're not at school. There may be some emotional issues going on, and we can link them to some services here in the community.
Okay, well, we'll talk more about those services when we come back. We're going to take a little break here and take a look at the second half of our lineup, and then we'll be right back. So stay with us here on Calhoun County's Most Wanted.
Welcome back to the second half of the lineup. First up, we have Lafiama Bates of August, Georgia. Failure to appear, possession of controlled substance, receiving stolen property in the first. Larry Hunter of Parrish, Alabama, failure to appear, theft of property in the first. Dustin Studdard of Talladega, Alabama, violation protection order. Eli Scrutchins III of Anniston, Alabama, probation violation, robbery in the first. Robert Litterdale III of Anniston, Alabama, failure to appear, receiving stolen property in the first. Ashley Childers of Anniston, Alabama, probation revocation, theft of property in the fourth. John Graham of Anniston, Alabama, probation violation, possession of controlled substance. If you have any information about these cases, please call the Sheriff's Office at 256-236-6600.
And that was the second half of the lineup. Hope you saw somebody there. And remember, Sheriff's Office is just a phone call away. And we're here still with Grady Locker and Teresa Simmons-Ross, both of the Helping Families Initiative. Before the break, we were talking about the services that you provide when you make this contact. So tell us a little bit more about those services.
So sometimes when I go into the school systems, the children are at a point where they need to be referred inpatient, and so that happens a lot, as well as local referrals to counselors in this area that will go into the school systems and provide therapy. And the kids sometimes need immediate attention, and we make those referrals as well.
And so you're referring to all the counselors, Highland Health Systems? And,
Exactly,
okay.
Exactly, yes.
And is your role, are you doing the assessments and then the referrals, or are you actually working individually with these kids?
So I'm working direct contact individually with the kids, doing the intake and assessments, and then referring out, and then doing some follow-up. And then a lot of times it's more case management involved, but the main thing is to get them some help immediately.
Placing kids with local counselors is a challenge because some of your kids are fairly young.
Yes.
And they're not quite suited for talk therapy, they're suited for play therapy. So do you make that decision too based on the age of your folks?
Well, we also have assistants. We work in partnership with Calhoun County school systems, and they have a mental health coordinator that helps us with that as well.
Oh, excellent.
And she helps make those referrals as well.
So do you work with the parents too?
Yes,
And
of course.
You're doing some parent classes, or are you doing some family counseling? What kind of stuff are you doing?
Well, we're offering parenting classes to any of the parents that are interested. So, and then this summer we're going to be doing some parenting things as well. So we'll stay tuned and we'll keep you posted on that.
Now, is there any cost to the service, or is it all free?
No, there's no cost to the families that we serve in Calhoun County.
Okay.
So what parenting program are you using? Do you know?
Okay, we will be using the STEP program.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm familiar with STEP.
Yes.
Parent Project's been around, Empowering Parents has been around. There's many
Yes.
different things out there. So getting involved with families, Lindy, from the law enforcement standpoint, this is a proactive stance that's helping these kids stay out of your profession.
Right, you know, and because law enforcement doesn't want to have to get involved, especially with kids at school and things like that. And unfortunately, you know, there are times that we do, and there are situations where you see there's some outbursts or some red flags where it's causing some concerns where law enforcement is involved. Now, are you working directly with the SROs as well? Because situations may be, if possible, threats made or threats, you know, of the child making threats towards the school or coming back to do violence at the school. And I know that's where, on some situations where we have to get involved.
Yep.
Yes.
Well, it's kind of the idea of the program beginning is actually the HFI, or Helping Families Initiative, is actually a statewide program that district attorneys can voluntarily join, and then school systems can voluntarily join. And the idea was just that. It's if we can keep those kids from law enforcement, keep those kids from having to be involved in the system, but also if they can get the need and the help they need and the resources they need at this time, they're more likely to graduate. And if they're more likely to graduate, they're less likely to be involved in criminal activity.
Right.
And that was the ultimate goal, and that's why our district attorney, Brian McVeigh, wanted the program, is he wanted to be proactive and try to limit the number of people who get involved in the criminal justice system as adults, if we can get them as kids and get them especially if it's a resource. And if there's a resource in the community, that's where the partnership with United Way of East Central Alabama comes in so handy, is there are numerous agencies who work with United Way that I can just quickly make a phone call to and say, the family I'm working with right now, I think if they could just get their mortgage, a little help with their mortgage this month, I think they could get their kids to school more frequently. And I have a general idea of what that information, but I can just call United Way and have that taken care of. So that's kind of the idea. And the more we can get those resources and guide families towards what they need, there's less likelihood I'll see them, less likelihood that the school has to discipline those students, and then less likelihood that later on they're a juvenile probation issue or a criminal justice issue.
Well, United Way making differences all over our community.
Yeah.
So if families wanted to get in touch with you, could they call you directly?
Yes,
or?
absolutely.
So what is that contact information?
My office number is 256-741-7425.
And they can call you directly and you will help them with
I can
whatever
help them
issues
find
they might
whatever
have?
resource they may need or answer any questions. I field a lot of questions from families just trying to figure out how to deal with the situation. They just don't know how to deal with, I have an unruly child and I'm not really sure what to do with that. And I can help them find a resource there. So.
Outstanding. Well, we appreciate you, Grady and Teresa, for being on our show and telling us about Helping Families Initiative. Hope you guys wrote down that number. We're going to take another break. We'll be back with our the Crazy Criminal and the Crime Stoppers portion of our show here on Calhoun County's Most Wanted.
Now it's time for our property crime segment. On April 19th, a Lincoln welder was stolen from a residence located on Fish Hatchery Road in East Aboga. Between April 19th and April 20th, an unknown person broke into a garage located on Valley Cove Drive in Alexandria. A Chicago welder, 4 chainsaws, and a battery charger were stolen. We ask that if you have any information about these cases, please call the Sheriff's Office at 256-236-6600.
Stupid! You're so stupid!
So welcome back. Hope you can help us with the Crime Stoppers stuff if you can. You know, give Lindy a call. She has investigators standing by to take your information. So our crazy criminal this week comes from one of my favorite states, the state of Maine. Yeah, we're going to be talking about Maine right here. And Christopher Wallace. Well, old Christopher Wallace liked to steal stuff, and he did. He stole some equipment. And law enforcement had a hard time finding him because he was just sneaking around everywhere. So what old Chris did, well, he posted on Snapchat, and he said, you know what? I got away with it. And that just wasn't good enough. So Chris kept posting that stuff, and, you know, the law enforcement in Maine, they're pretty attentive to social media. You guys watch social media, don't you?
We do.
Yeah, so they looked and they saw that, and they figured out where he was, and they searched the house, and, you know, Lindy searched a lot of houses.
Yes, I have. And
Lawfully,
found
by
some
the way.
lawfully. And just like this, you know, he's hid in a cabinet, and there's been some crazy places where you think, you know, there's no way that a person would be hid, but such as dryers and cabinets and things like that, that you'll find some. I think that one of the craziest places, it was a couch that they hollowed out from the bottom. So if law enforcement came to the house, they hid up underneath the couch, put the couch back over the top of them. So you were kind of up, they were up in the cushions part of it, and so you didn't, you look up underneath it, you didn't see it, but it was hollowed out. So
The weirdest place I ever found somebody was in a shower. He was hiding naked in the shower. I pulled the shower curtain back, and there he was. But this guy was hiding in his house under some pots and pans, and they found him. So you can run, but you cannot hide. And we really appreciate you tuning in this week, and we hope to see you again next week, but not necessarily in the lineup, here on Calhoun County's Most Wanted.